Uh, Welcome to the Pastor's Chat. I don't know the date for today. Must be February the 8th. Anyway, today, ask me how I am. It's Monday. Sometimes after the work of the weekend and the service and all the other things that are involved, I'm sometimes putting myself together again. And today, today feels a little bit like a time machine. Have we really been here doing this now for 11 months? Still good to take stock. How are we today? The season of Epiphany seems long to me. I guess partly it's because sometimes it just feels like Easter arrives like that, right after, or at least that Ash Wednesday does, right after Christmas is over. But this year we have a longer extended period in between. So what it means is we have a lot of time to document our insights. I don't know what the COVID experience has been for you. I mean, I've spent some time organizing closets and doing things that I never seem to get time to do. I've gotten rid of some stuff that wasn't really necessary in my life, so I've lightened my load a little bit. That was a COVID thing. I finished some projects that had been started. That was a COVID thing. But along the way, honestly, I've been trying to increase my awareness of myself. I mean, some of it I've been sharing with you, but most of the Epiphany ahas have been things that I'm able to say were kind of out there somewhere, either in the religious language that I use or in the biblical studies or in dynamics. But there's another invitation. Oh. One of them is that I yawn about 5 minutes every time after this starts. The other dimension of this time is the time for reflection and introspection. That's it. Introspection. Looking back over my life and seeing how there are times when all of it made sense. Choices that I made feel really good, especially the ones that have landed me where I am today. And there are times where, wow, I look and I go, I need to look a little closer at that and think more about who I am. And there's a phrase I've started saying, and it sounds like I'm into the me generation, but I'm not. I'm gonna do me. There are choices that one can make about how to go through life and how to be in relationships. And it's been true always in my life with churches and sessions, because all of it, everything I do is about relationships, including conversations like this, where people like you sit down and we talk together about how we are, where we are. And I've often said to you, and I still think it's true, that my effectiveness in these kinds of pastoral conversations or these relationships depends upon a certain tenacity of knowing myself. And I don't think it's an easy endeavor, and it's always changing. I try to say something about myself, who I am. Years ago, I took the Myers-Briggs personality inventory. That was for my preparation as a pastor. Oh, and if you know that test, I am an INFP, an introvert, it said, a feeling person, rational and perceptive, I think. I'm not quite sure of the FP anymore. Then years later, I took it again, and it said that I was an extrovert. So who am I? How am I is related to who am I. I've been for years aware that my journey in life has left me with a kind of predisposition to be conflict averse, meaning we run from conflict in every possible way. But that's not really, I mean, I'll say that about myself when I feel like being hard on myself, but that's not really true about me anymore. I've worked very hard to turn toward conflict, especially when I know it can be helpful. I'm not always very good in the navigation in the middle of conflict because I don't have the experience that many people have. Families deal with conflict differently. For me, every bit of conflict in my family always felt like the stakes were very, very, very high, and so we all avoided it. I don't live that way anymore. I don't. I've navigated through my own fair share of conflicts, and in the sense of winning some and losing some and making negotiations. So who am I? Who am I? I'm going to do me right now. But I'm saying all this to say that I encourage you also to be at work on the issues of when I say, how are you? Who are you? Who are you? Do you know yourself? And it's important, especially, it's important in every area of your life to know who you are. And it's also important not to take your ideas about who you are just from random people. In the clergy, in the work of clergy, you always have lots of people who are willing to volunteer to help you to know who you are and what you're like. Wow. But again, the second part of it is that you should pick the people that you want to get the other person feedback from. You do not have to accept the feedback from every person that comes along about who you are or how you are. You do not. But it is good to have in your inventory of yourself a trusted few that you can say, tell me about me, talk to me about me. It's helpful. It's helpful, especially if they really are friends that you trust and can say things to you that you might not like. But they'll also then be able to say things to you that are true that you really will like. How are you? Who are you? And then, of course, my question for every pastor's chat, which is, how are you faring today? How are you faring? How are you doing? It seems like lots of people around me are getting the vaccination, and that feels good. I'm still on the waiting list and gotten a lot of help for people who are helping to look for me. It'll come for me in time. And that also is good because it's moving to a time and a place we can begin to start to think about when interaction between people can return safely. And some of that feels as unknown as the territory was when it was landed on us that we couldn't interact. It's been a long season of just instinctively keeping our distance and making that normal, making that okay. I can't tell you though how many times I go down to the school where I really hyper vigilant about my isolation and the protection of the kids and protection of myself. And then I get out of the car and I go up to the door of the school where I meet with the director there, and I haven't put my mask on. And I quickly go back to the car and get the mask on and think, when will it be second nature for me to always remember to do that? It's there a lot, but so many things, including things about the church, I've listed as often as I can the surprise of the benefit of how we do things now. That's just such a surprise to find a benefit in the extreme situation that we're in. I also still feel the weight, the gravity. I'm an empathetic person, and I feel the weight and the gravity of people whose loved ones are dying, especially those that are dying with great discomfort. And for the caregivers that are trying to take care of them, I carry that around with me all the time. Not in a destructive way, I don't think, but I don't ever want to grow numb to it. I don't want to be numb. I want to be alive and alert and paying attention to what's happening around me. And so, how are you? Where are you at in this trying and stressful time? I'm aware more than ever before. I started talking to you months ago about when people I knew were getting COVID and getting very sick and dying. I started hearing on the news 3 weeks ago about the mental health consequences of the pandemic and the isolation, especially on teenagers and kids who aren't in school and college kids who can't do anything of what's normal. And I'm actually aware now of individuals where those statistics are names and faces and people that I know. They're facing demons of difficult times. And so I'm praying for them, and I'm saying that to you so that you too can pray. And maybe it's haunting you in your life, this isolation. Every time I say it, I think I know that some of you are saying, "Welcome to my world." I think about my dad and his world. He's very isolated without trying. He really is almost not driving at all anymore. He drives one route to the corner grocery store and back. But other than that, he's very isolated. He lives alone by his own choice in his house where he and my mom lived. And he navigates his day trying to get used to loneliness. He doesn't want to have somebody else come and live, I think, because that feels like that would remove the essence of mom who's still in the house. I don't know. I can do his psychology. But, his life is lonely whether it's COVID or not. And I respond. I don't dismiss it. I respond. I don't call every day, but I call almost every day and talk with him and try to really have real conversation with him. Really ask, how is he doing? And talk to me about what his night was like and what's happening today. What movie are you watching? What book are you reading? I don't know that I would be as sensitive to that if it wasn't for the COVID right now, for this time of isolation and worry about the consequences of it. I don't know. Maybe if you went back 6 months and watched one of these pastors' chats, maybe I've done exactly this conversation 6 months ago. I may have, but it's no less real today. It's no less theological for me today either. How do we continue to hold on to the presence of God with us in our lives for sustained periods of time? When the people of Israel, much to their chagrin, were taken over by the Babylonians and then by the Assyrians, and they were hauled off to parts unknown, one of the things that they began to realize was they were losing their identity because they could no longer sing the songs of faith. They were starting to forget the stories that had always comforted them through difficult times. They were so far separated from their mileposts and their signposts that reminded them of who they are and whose they are. So, we'll have the same struggle. I think that the virtual gatherings help a lot. This is one of the reasons why I support Laura so much when she goes around the world, and she finds hymns, deep hymns of the church and the songs of the church that stir faith and remembrances of faith before and points to faith today. This is how we survive in the middle of difficulty and struggle and isolation. I hope this conversation is helpful. I hope at least it stirs your thoughts to agree or disagree with me, but in anything makes contact with you in your world where you are. Again, it's a Monday. A Tuesday sometimes feels different to me. And I may be back here as, Louie the cheerleader tomorrow. But today, I'm very even. I'm right there with you, wherever you are. And I'm glad you came in and chatted with me for a while. I'm sure you've got things to go on to do or to think about, and so I'll let you go. Thanks for stopping by. God bless you, my friends. Be a blessing where you are. Find that pathway to draw on God's strength so that you can be God's strength to someone else. I'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless you.